I think somebody who's gone under the radar a little bit at the start of this 2022 season is Yuki Tsunoda. I think he's been really, really impressive and quietly had one of the best race weekends of his career in Imola over the last weekend. And I know that there's been lots of talk about Valtteri Bottas and how he looks revitalized in that Alfa Romeo car. Obviously, Kevin Magnussen back in the sport, looking like he can drag Haas into the midfield battle, the Alpines up and down, Sebastian Vettel's up and downs. But Yuki Tsunoda, for me, has been one of those drivers that hasn't been talked about too much, but has been really, really good in these first 4 races. I mean, let's not forget that this is Yuki Tsunoda who's been fast-tracked into Formula 1. Last year was his rookie season, and 2018 he was in Formula 4 Japan. Like, he has made massive steps forward up into Formula 1 very, very quickly. And we've seen drivers that are really, really good and really consistent spend their careers in Formula 3, Formula 2, trying to step up to that Formula 1 level and never quite being able to reach it over the course of their career. So Red Bull clearly see something very, very special in Yuki Tsunoda. You know, you don't fast track someone over the course of 3 years through all of the formulas because you don't think they've got something special. You don't think they're going to be a future world champion or at least a future top team driver for you. So Red Bull clearly see something in Yuki Tsunoda and clearly see the potential there for him. And lots of people talk about that Honda partnership and whether that's linked to his career, but genuinely, I don't think he steps up that quickly into Formula 1 if they just want to connect him to Honda. Because let's face it, last year, a 14th place finish for him, 7 points finish in 22 races, and under a lot of pressure over the course of the year. You know, Helmut Marko is someone you don't really want to annoy in Formula 1 because Red Bull are very quick to pull the trigger if you are not performing for one of their teams. And Yuki Tsunoda himself said he was a little bit surprised that he was able to keep that seat for alphatauri. And personally, I wasn't that surprised because, as I said, I don't think you move someone through those formula ranks quickly to give up on them after one season. And, you know, there was a lot of pressure on him to deliver. One of the first articles I read about Yuki Tsunoda after his step up into Formula 1 was whether or not he was going to be a future world champion. Like, there's a lot of pressure to put on a rookie coming into Formula 1 for his first ever season. And the Yuki Tsunoda hype was massive, especially after Bahrain and a good points finish after Bahrain too. Obviously, his standout performance was that 4th place in Abu Dhabi in the last race of last year. Really, really good drive from him, and maybe just showed that shining light, showed that inkling of why Red Bull have so much faith in him. But as I said, I don't think over the course of the season he hit those expectations that we had of him. I do think last season was really, really impressive for him, though. And I know Drive to Survive doesn't, you know, get the praise from a lot of Formula 1 fans, but I think the Yuki Tsunoda episode is one of the better episodes, even though it's slightly linked to Esteban Ocon, which I didn't really get. The Yuki Tsunoda episode does show those changes that he's been willing to make and shined a light on how Yuki Tsunoda has had to adapt to Formula 1. I think more than most drivers, he's made real big sacrifices to try and keep his seat in Formula 1 and to try and take that next level step up for himself and get into that Red Bull car in the future. He himself that he wasn't living a Formula 1 driver's life. Like, he had to make massive changes to the behind the scenes for himself to try and step up to that level. And I think the regulation changes have come perfectly for him. You know, stepping into 2022, he's now in 12th place and got his rookie season out of the way. 2 points finishes in the first 4 races, really 3 races, because he wasn't able to take part in Saudi Arabia, and that was not his fault. And as I said, in Imola, qualified 16th in the sprint race, got up to 12th place, and then in the race itself, got up into 7th place, was much, much faster than his teammate Pierre Gasly, and Pierre Gasly's been talked about forever as one of the better drivers on the field. Gasly is always linked to those top teams, and whether or not he's going to replace Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes, replace Daniel Ricciardo at McLaren, like, lots of people have Pierre Gasly moving to a top team in the future. And Yuki Tsunoda so far has been that little bit better than Pierre Gasly over the first few races. Yes, you could say Pierre Gasly was very unfortunate to obviously have that issue in the first race of the season, but Yuki Tsunoda stepping up to the plate in Imola. And, you know, he looks very, very good in a very, very competitive midfield. Like we talked about it on the pre-race podcast, Alfa Romeo down to Williams seems like a really tough spot to battle in. Like, the cars are interchanging all the time. It's very track dependent. Haas, Williams with Albon, Alfa Romeo have made massive strides forwards in comparison to last year, whereas AlphaTauri have kind of stood still. And the fact that Yuki Tsunoda has been able to get get these positions and been able to make that charge in the sprint race over the course of the Imola weekend, and then in the race again as well, after what was quite a tricky qualifying session for him, missing out on 0.004 of a second to Lewis Hamilton. I think Yuki is finally showing those massive steps of taking himself and his career to that next level. I genuinely think over the course of this season, we could see Yuki Tsunoda in a completely different light. I think we could see Yuki Tsunoda and the real Yuki Tsunoda that we were expecting to see. And let's not forget that next year is his third season in Formula One. We've seen with Lando Norris, George Russell last year, that third season, if you can really cement yourself in Formula One and really cement yourself in a team in Formula One, that third season can be so incredibly impactful. We've seen Lando Norris go from a really good midfield driver to now talked about with the likes of Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen. We saw George Russell take that Williams to places we never thought that it could go, and then step up into a team like Mercedes right at the front of the grid. And now alphatauri have a similar sort of thing. I think Yuki Tsunoda, one more year in alphatauri next year, 2023, and then 2024 could be the real year where he steps up into Red Bull. Can he, battle with Max Verstappen in that Red Bull team? Maybe that Red Bull isn't available to him, and maybe he has to step up to another team further down the grid, but maybe still takes a step up into one of those top teams for his next couple of years. And I genuinely think this Yuki Tsunoda this year, Imola, was the start of something special for Yuki Tsunoda. But I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments down below. That's just my take on Yuki Tsunoda's first 4 races and what I think we can expect from him this year. But I'd love to know what you think Yuki Tsunoda can achieve this season. Obviously, currently sitting in 12th place in the rankings. Can he keep there? Do you think he'll end up higher than that over the course of the season? Or do you think maybe he'll end up a little bit lower just because it is only his second year? We're still seeing little errors from him here and there, and his qualifying pace hasn't quite been there yet either. So I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below. Whilst you're there, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new and you love Formula One content. Lots more coming over the next few weeks, and of course moving into the Miami weekend. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time.